Paul, over to The Guardian, where a survey about poverty has somehow unaccountably become one of our top stories.
Yes. Poor people surviving, not living, as UK social contract collapses, report says. So this is an exclusive from The Guardian, saying that a commission, including former ministers' voices, concerned that a lack of urgency from two main parties over the scale of poverty. Now, there's two things going on here. We've got what's actually causing it, and it seems to have been a humongous economic turndown since the way the pandemic was managed. So this is definitely the outturn of what happened during COVID, which was inevitable in terms of its economic turndown. And the reason that they don't want to talk about it, the two main parties, is because A, they don't know what the solution is, and B, they were part of the problem. So it's very difficult when you calculate those two things together to get a positive answer. Also, and if you look at the rest of Europe and the rest of the Western world, I mean, take Sweden, for instance. They didn't lock down. Their economy is close to recession at the moment, and that's not because they didn't lock down. That's because their economy is inextricably linked to the rest of the economy in the Western world.
But you will have seen the figures a couple of days ago which suggest that we'd underestimated the extent to which we had bounced back, and in fact there'd been a lot of kind of naysaying and doing Britain down considerably.
Yeah, I agree.
They're certainly not outliers on that front. I do take your point, though. I mean, I think we still have serious productivity issues, which we've had for a very long time, and these have been made worse by the number of people who essentially didn't want to come back to work again after lockdown. This is the danger, isn't it?
It's not a recent phenomenon. Britain has been struggling since the 1850s. I actually read a book about it.
The 1850s?
The 1850s, productivity in Britain has been going down since the 1850s.
So that must have been the peak of our productivity.
Yes, it was. And
that was us inventing the Industrial Revolution, wasn't it?
But this little study was done by the Poverty Strategy Commission, which actually takes money from Legatum. What do they call that? And they're involved in us, too.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, they give money.
They're wrong uns.
So and basically
stick to pastilles.
Yeah, and basically, what they're suggesting is giving all the poor families, the 6 million poor families, £6,000. Which is 36 billion.
I mean, you look at these figures. They say at one point they go, it's the poor people are now surviving, not living. Well, those are just two different words for the same thing. It may have an emotive point, but surviving means living. That is the Latin word, vive.
Yeah.
But it means you live beyond something. That's all it means. The idea that what do you expect poor people to be? I mean, they're creating a very emotional appeal here. The idea that poor people are just sort of on life support or something, and then you look at it. And it's been the same it says it hasn't budged in the last 2 decades. Their complaint is not that it's got worse, but that it hasn't improved in 2 decades. So that has basically been something you could have said at any point this century.
Yeah, but I disagree with you.
Okay.
Because, and I'm not sure why, but I think that number, which is the percent of people below the poverty line, above the poverty line, is like a completely fluid number that they can manipulate.
Of course it is. Whatever it is, it's a question of what the median is and how far below the median. Anyway, which is not to decry poor people. If any are watching, well, you have my sympathy, obviously. Lewis.